Alright everyone, it's the Grimlord here and I'm back with another video. This video is going to be a rant about comics. There's one thing that I need to really talk about when it comes to comics, and it's the fact that a lot of people have abandoned them for manga, and that's expected because DC and Marvel put out a lot of woke trash. A lot of woke trash. I've actually read some of it. I've bought some of it discounted at those discount stores really cheaply, so they don't even make any money from it. But yeah, I've got some of this stuff. I can verify it. I downloaded some of this stuff. I read the whole Mechanic. I think it's Kelly Sue Mechanic, or whatever her name is. I read that whole run of Captain Marvel, and it was absolute crap. Yeah, it's bad. However, the problem that I notice from a lot of young manga readers is that they are not familiar with the fact that comics actually used to be good. And I'm not talking about cape shit, because they always talk about, oh, cape shit. Okay, we're not even talking about cape shit here. We're talking about Vertigo and Image and a lot of other comic labels that used to be really good before they started, putting a lot more woke stuff in there. Obviously, Vertigo went super woke, and they hired that that fucking bitch that caused the guy to kill himself. You know, she who must not be named. She had a little comic called Goddess Mode, and that fucking died. Matter of fact, the whole Vertigo imprint died in 2020. Because, people liked Vertigo because they had a progressive sense and the fact that they weren't doing the same kind of stuff that the comic industry was doing. They were doing some actual new ideas. You had Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and Warren Ellis and just all these guys. Garth Ennis. A lot of these really great storytellers, a lot of British, European based storytellers that were talking about different things. Even if they were using the cape and cowl as a backdrop, they were talking about stuff that was kind of important. And it wasn't even in the sense of, oh no, we're trying to be progressive and all that. It was like, no, we're they were addressing social issues. Even V for Vendetta, did that. But a lot of people consider V for Vendetta very prophetic and Transmetropolitan, which I went over. That's pretty prophetic. Again, I may do some more of that, but it is a DC property, so I want to be very careful because DC may, I don't know, somehow find their way to come down on me from here. I don't know. But again, they were doing different things. It wasn't just, Batman saves the world, Superman saves the world. Well, I've loved those comics for years. It wasn't until later and I found the X-Men, and y'all remember how the 90s X-Men cartoon was and how it was really mature and it dealt with a lot of more adult situations. And a lot of people like that. And of course that was based on Chris Claremont's work. So yeah, it was a perfect kind of mix there. It was loosely adapted from Chris Claremont, but still, it was very good stuff. And we're just not going to see that level in the United States from major publishers again. And it does suck. However, there is one reason I'm really, really thankful for what RGE is doing with his Make Entertainment Great Again thing, where he's got all these indie comic creators on there. Because these guys actually believe in the medium of comics. Like, they actually want to get good comics written again. And that's important. That's really important because one of the things that the young weeb manga guy said is that comics are U.S. military propaganda. And I'm like, no, they're not. I was like, you've never picked up a Vertigo book in your life. The kid had nothing to say in response because he didn't even know what I was talking about. He's like V for Vendetta, a lot of the books that I've mentioned. Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison said that mankind was a virus and that it would replicate civilizations and cities. He thought that cities were kind of a virus because everywhere that man would go, he would build a city. And that was like a replicating function that a virus does. And that was actually somewhat incorporated into the Matrix. Everybody considers the Matrix to be some great philosophical work of art and doesn't realize most of it came from the Invisibles. I mean, the majority of it came from the Invisibles. Almost fucking panel for panel in some cases. Go look at it yourself. And you'll be rather surprised. Grant Morrison's actually kind of not too happy about certain things. He just wanted acknowledgement. He's like, okay, Wachowskis, I know you used my comic. Like, I heard reports from people that were actually there in the studio in Australia when they were shooting in Australia that my comics were laid out all over the set and nobody said a thing to me. I mean, he still kind of just wants that recognition. Maybe he'll get it years later, now that they're doing the Matrix Resurrected. But that doesn't take away the fact that a lot of this stuff that we consider red pill and blue pill all came from those comics. Didn't come from the manga, came from the comics. It's not to say that these writers weren't influenced by anything Japanese. Of course, there's always been Japanese influence and presence. However, we're missing a large part of the, I guess you'd say a large part of the meal. It's like we're just getting the potatoes if we're forgetting about how important the meat of the American Western comics industry actually is. And again, I'm not talking about Marvel and DC. I'm talking about a lot of the other stuff, like Spawn blew up. A lot of people just don't even realize how big Spawn was when it first came out. Everybody thought Spawn was cool. That was that big, mature comic that, when they had that HBO animated series, you would kind of get, and like your parents didn't want you to watch stuff like that. So yeah, it was a cool time when Spawn was coming out, and it was about hell, and he was a hell spawn. They actually had video games, and they had the movie. And it was really cool. Like, that was a good time. American comics or indie comics had really shined around that time. And then you see something like The Walking Dead, which was a big Image comic, just go on and on to this huge drama series. And of course, they did Preacher, which Preacher was decent. But, there's just a lot of stuff that they're using from those comics. Obviously, The Sandman, which I'm still really iffy about, even though Gaiman swears up and down this is going to be good, and he's the showrunner, and I'm hoping I can trust him on this one, but I don't really know. It just doesn't seem like something that got a lot of faith in. However, definitely read The Sandman if you haven't. They even made a manga of Sandman after. It's just one volume. But they made a manga of the Sandman because the Sandman had gotten popular in Japan. So this is an example of Japanese manga, or not Japanese manga, but American comics actually making a hit in Japan. Obviously, you look at My Hero Academia, and all that is from American comics. Like, all that stuff that people like. People keep saying, well, if you like older American comics or maybe like the classic comics, you're going to like My Hero Academia because it reminds you maybe like Batman the Animated Series or something. And people really love Batman the Animated Series. So there was a lot of good stuff there. And don't forget, Batman the Animated Series, majority of that comes from Grant Morrison's work. So, we just seem to forget all this when it comes to, like, oh yeah, manga's the way to go. And, I mean, to be honest, I'm still really loyal to American comics or Western comics in general because, I never did like the whole manga aesthetic of just black and white and grays. Like, I get it. I understand why it's done that way. And I have appreciation for art and panels I've seen. I can read them. I've done, right to left. I have a bunch of different mangas. I have probably hundreds of dollars in mangas, just mangas I've bought in bundles and things. So yeah, I've got mangas. I know about them. I just don't really tend to read them so much because I'm just so obsessed with color. And again, my favorite artist, and my favorite artist can be Alex Ross, because like that guy can make larger than life realistic interpretations of characters, and I've always loved that sense of realism when it comes to art. If you can make something that looks so real it could have hopped off the page, that's gonna get my attention, because I've always loved that. And he's done recently Batman and Darth Vader and a bunch of other classic American icons, and basically just made them again look like they could just hop right off the page. The man's still at it all these years, just an amazing artist. I've got a whole book of his work, and it's just incredible work. So I mean, I'm actually one of the guys that collects art. They have those hardcover art gallery kind of things where it's just all the best of their pieces. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. And don't forget about Jack Kirby. We've got Jack Kirby's work. A lot of these guys, just amazing artists, very, very influential. And, we seem to forget all that. And, for someone to say, oh, they're just U.S. military propaganda, that shows you haven't read anything. That shows you're young and you need to go back and probably check out some of that stuff. There's a lot of really great comics. We talk about the Hellblazer, not the new stuff, but the old stuff, the original 300 issues, really good stuff there. There's just so much we can talk about. If you really want to learn about like the occult and the way that it was mainly described by Alan Moore, Promethea would be a great place to go. And Tom Strong is your more I guess you could say scientific Superman. And yes, it had diverse elements. Like he married a black woman and had a black daughter, but they didn't make it the big thing. Like it wasn't the point of it. It wasn't like, oh look, this person's black. It's like, no, this is just a character. I mean, they talked about her heritage because she was on an island. That's where he was raised before he, became who he was, Tom Strong and all that. And they did fight the Nazis and everything else. But again, it was not looked at the way like the left looks at these kinds of things now. The characters were not made to be like likable. They weren't likable characters. They were literal, fascists. When we use the term fascist, that's what we refer to, not how the left says it. Like, oh, you're a fascist. It's like, no. I remember the way things used to be. So, but for somebody that's literally got these comics like in my dungeon, I guess you could say, because I really do like the Vertigo and Sandman, and I have all the Promethea books. Yeah, it's just really rough to see that a lot of these kids have just given up because of the cape shit. And you're missing a lot. There's a lot of other independent sources you can support. Marcosia, hit and miss some of that. You've got your Top Cow, which still seems to be putting out stuff. I haven't seen anything woke from them yet. Humanoids tried to get woke when they put out that really awful comic that RGE talked about. It was called, I can't remember what it was called, either Empowered or Triggered or something like that. I actually read the full volume of that. If you so desire, I will fucking read it again, but I really don't want to. But yeah, that one I've read. There's also like in Humanoids. Don't forget that had Jodorowsky's work on there. The stuff that was going to be his version of Dune got put into the Inkle. It got put into a lot of the other comics that he did. So I would recommend checking that out if you want some cool, esoteric, out there stuff. Actually, Clive Barker's protege was big into editing a lot of that stuff. He was responsible for a lot of that because it was originally French, and he was making it legible for audiences. You have the metabarons, and this stuff is not, it's not for kids. It's definitely like more adult. There's a lot of sexy books in there. It's different stuff that humanoids offered. And again, I really like them. I don't like that they tried to go woke with the humanoid universe or whatever they tried to do. It didn't last very long, by the way. They had like one bundle where they had some humanoid universe stuff in there, and then after that, they killed it because they knew it wasn't selling. They knew that people liked their other work, so they tried some other stuff. And, I think companies can learn. I do. I think if a publisher goes in, they make some woke shit, okay, so we're not going to buy or support that. And they'll learn their lesson, and then they'll go ahead and say, okay, fine, we'll put out some stuff that you want to read. And then people should reward them by buying that stuff they want to read. There's one problem I don't like about the whole cancel culture thing, and that even comes with us. It's like, can people redeem themselves? And I understand what Drexel says, like, I'm done with Star Wars and all that. Yeah, I understand. Like, this KOTOR thing, dude, like, I'm gonna be done with that. Like, I don't know if they can redeem KOTOR ever. Like, after what they're doing with Sam Maggs, you guys hear about the old, I knew it was coming. I looked, oh my god, she's on Call of Duty Vanguard. And it's so funny. It's called Your Team and Enemy Team. It's like, wow, we're having World War II without the Nazis. It's so fucking funny. I can't believe just how hard I'm laughing. And, that's just it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. She's gonna rape KOTOR, and I mean it. She's going to destroy KOTOR, and I'm okay because I've played KOTOR. I love KOTOR. I still need to finish that KOTOR 2 with the content restoration patch. I still got it installed, I believe. So maybe I'll just work on doing that when the new KOTOR comes out. I'll just go back and finish up that one. They were going to remaster the first two, which would have been great. Because the GOG stuff works, but it would be nice if, they could get it to play for everybody and get it, new visuals, updates. I know you can do mods for all that, but, it's just, it'd be cool to have some updates on some really classic stuff that the fans really love. But yeah, it's. When companies do fuck up, and they're like, okay, fine, so this didn't work, because I know a lot of companies, even indie companies, tried to do it, and some companies are a bit successful. Archie actually did really well when they went woke a little bit. I don't know why, maybe because of all the Sonic readers, but they actually did kind of well. What they did to Jughead and all that. Oh, it's horrible, but it did well. They even did comics based on the whole Riverdale, and they did really well. So if there's an audience for that crap, they'll even accept the woke, which is unfortunate, but that's their audience. They're gonna like it. There's not much you can say. Obviously, their Mega Man didn't work out very well. Of course, I read every single issue of it, and I have I loved what was done there. I didn't see anything as woke or anything like that. Especially loved the Mega Man 2 idea where he was becoming more evil as he went on. That was pretty cool. He was actually just destroying robots, and they were kind of begging for their life. I was like, holy shit, that's kind of awesome. But there's different things that can be done in companies that are still make them worth checking out. Obviously, you have Aspen. Everybody was looking up to Aspen. Aspen still draws their women like women. You still have Xeno. What is it called? Hold on. Let me go over and look at these comics for a second. It's Xenoscope, yeah, Xenoscope. Actually put some stuff on Humble recently. Surprising. And the girls, they're still with the scantily clad look, you know. So if you like the women looking like women, hot Red Riding Hood and all that kind of stuff, it's there. The writing's okay. It's not amazing writing. But you have the Xenoscope books. You have the Alterna comics. Remember, the president of Alterna, he basically came in support of Comicsgate when it was first announced. Got a lot of flack, but the comics are good, and I'll read Trespasser tonight, so you guys can kind of see what that was like. I don't like what they did with his daughter at the end. I don't know what the fuck happened there. I'm really confused. But, you got that, you got the chair, Red Koi, a lot of other stuff. Dynamite somewhat has a mixture. Some of it's really woke. I don't think it was Mechanic, but another. I can't remember everybody, but it's one of those where you point them out and you're like, okay, that's gonna be woke. I think it might be Queen Sonia. One of these Red Sonia comics that was done was really woke, but not everything on that entire label. There's a lot of other stuff that still kind of respects the character. They had, again, every label has tried some woke stuff. However, they have learned from it. Only Marvel and DC seem to be stuck in there, but a lot of these indie comics, they have tried it and it's not really worked for them. So maybe it takes Marvel and DC more flops before they realize that's not going to get their audience's attention. And maybe they'll stop with this woke stuff that they're doing right now. But again, you have so many different places that you can support and check out comics. So there's no real reason for you to, just completely give up. And don't forget about the independent stuff that RGE is promoting. I actually got my, what is it? I can't remember. Let's see. It's a ninja. Is it ferrets or? They're rodents. Yeah, they're capybaras. They're like ninja capybaras or something, kind of like somebody's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it came to me in a really nice paperback with a poster and a pin and all that kind of stuff. That's really cool. And I'm sure when Blade Devil finally comes out, it'll look really good too. And I'm all for the idea of American manga because I notice a lot of American manga is actually colored. Again, I really like my art and my coloring. I really have a respect for just that whole part of the industry. So it is what it is as far as that's concerned. I know some people, they really like their black and white aesthetic or they're very used to it, and that's fair. But again, that's not how I grew up with my comics. I had some Spider-Man books, some Superman books, some Bible books. I had a book about the Revelation, which I still wish I fucking had today. Matter of fact, I wish I could get a hold of some of those old Christian comics because they might actually be fucking useful. Like, they were literally talking about, no, they seriously had books. I went to a Christian bookstore when I was young, and we were on a trip as a family, and I read all about the Revelation. Dude, they got hardcore. They were talking about people being chased after by demons in the hell. Like damn near, getting raped by demons and shit. And they actually had their own, Bible version of Spawn. All this stuff, I'm like, wow. Some of me actually wants to read that stuff and go back. Because they drew this Bible guy like Spawn. They tried to, do a Christian version of it. And that's kind of interesting. But I still want the one about the Revelation because it literally, shows the rapture. It shows and we're not talking about chick tracks. We're talking about something that was actually physically drawn and colored and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know who made it or where you get it. It's just a childhood memory that I have, but some of this shit needs to be reissued just so people can know it existed because it's absolutely insane what they were showing in this comic. It was not meant to be a happy comic. This was the literal revelations. I was like, wow. Like, they did not play. The freaking Bible store, the Christian bookstore did not play, folks. They went hardcore when they were trying to teach that message. Let me tell you. So, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can check out besides, the whole manga thing. I know everybody's into manga and reads manga like crazy. I'm just not a manga person. I tried to read it. I realized it takes me a lot longer to read manga than it does comics. I tried to read that Attack on Titan manga a few times. I've read like a couple other ones that I got in bundles. Not to say that there aren't some I really want I really want to read, Clockwork Planet and stuff like that. But again, I'm just more towards the regular comics, and I do recommend you support these indie developers, indie creators, because it's very important. Because with all these kids giving up on manga, or not manga, giving up on comics, saying it's fucking military propaganda, whatever other bullshit they're trying to say on YouTube. Nah, no. Comics haven't been military propaganda since like the 1940s, 30s, 40s. It's a completely different game. I don't know even why they tried that shit. I guess, I don't know. Some of these kids try and get woke or some shit. Any rate, I don't want to go on too much longer, but that's the Grim Lord, and I hope you did enjoy this rant. Please go support your local comic creators, and if anybody knows where to find them old Bible comics, like, I don't even know what it's called. I might have to Google it or something and see if I can find it still. But I guess Bible version of Spawn wouldn't be hard to find, but I don't think a lot of the internet comic sites would have it, because I strongly doubt that shit's available in digital anymore, or ever was in digital. But you guys take it easy, and this will be the Grim Lord, and I am out.